Hi, I'm Rich Harrington, and welcome to this edition of Photoshop CS4 Sneak Peek. Today, we're going to take a look at the Adobe Output module, which is actually part of Bridge, but replaces functionality inside of Photoshop. Longtime Photoshop users may remember such cool things as making web photo galleries, contact sheets, things like that, PDF slideshows, and that was a really important way to get your stuff out there for clients to review. Well, those features are now gone from Photoshop. But before you get upset, be sure to look at how they replaced it. Simply fire up Bridge and grab a folder full of images. So, once you're in Bridge here, you can navigate to a particular folder of images and open it up and grab a bunch of photos. So here I have several planes from the National Air and Space Museum. Now there's some cool things you could do inside a Bridge when you're looking at these images now that a lot of people miss. Under the View mode here, you can choose View Review mode, and that's a useful way to quickly look at the images here. And what you're actually seeing is it comes up with this cool sort of slideshow. And you're looking at it, you're seeing the photo, you could zoom in, check focus on areas, but when you're ready, just press the right arrow and it switches to the next image. So this is pretty cool, lets you check out your photos, zoom in, look at them in detail. All in all, pretty nice. And that's the Review mode, which is actually new to Bridge. Now, let's take a look at that Output module in particular. When you want to exit the Review mode, just click the X button here, and it exits back out. And what you want to do is switch your workspace. Just how Photoshop has workspaces for particular tasks, so does Bridge. You'll find them across the top here. We have Essentials, Film Strip, Metadata, and Output. If you don't see the Output workspace, just click and you'll see a whole menu here of all your choices for things like light tables and photos. But what you want is the Output module workspace. Choose that, and the user interface rearranges a bit to get ready for particular tasks. So, with your images selected here, you see we have the content along the bottom, and those are our selected images. And up top, we have a preview area as we start to build things. The first thing we're going to do is a PDF slideshow. Now, under the Output module here, you can do a web gallery, which is Flash, or a PDF file. I'm going to choose PDF, and from the template, I could choose options, such as a fine art matte, for example, and then click Refresh Preview. You'll see what it does is mat it on the white paper with the single image. If you want to make it full screen, you could simply choose Maximize Size and tell it to refresh, and it will actually adjust. Now, this is putting the image as big as possible on the page. If you want to make an actual slideshow, be sure to change your paper settings. Under the size here, you could specify what you want. Instead of international paper, let's go to a web size and specify that we want 1024 by 768, which is a real common size for a lot of computer monitors. Next, make sure it's set to landscape orientation by clicking the Landscape button and choose High Quality. I'm going to change the background to black, but you can use white or a custom color. Now, when you want to see this update, remember, just click the Refresh button and the screen will show you how it's going to look. At this point, you have a couple of other options. One is the ability to add a password for opening the document. So if you want to make the document password protected, just put a password on it. If you want a permissions password, you can actually do things like disable printing. This way, you could send a PDF to a client for review, but not worry about them printing out images that aren't quite done yet. If you have images that still need touch-up, or maybe you want to protect the images from theft, this is a good way to do it. Now, going down through, you have a few more options here, and what you could take advantage of, really, is the playback controls. You want to go ahead and tell it to open in full screen mode and set in advance, and then it's up to you if you want it to loop. You can have the slideshow repeat itself by going back to the beginning, and that's useful if you're putting this on a kiosk or out for display, maybe at a trade show. But if you want, you can also add transitions or uncheck loop so it only goes through front to back. Going down a little further, if necessary, you can actually apply watermarks to your image to protect them. When you're all set, you simply say that you want to go ahead and save the file. So specify View PDF after Save, click the Save button, and target a location. There we go. We'll click Save, and it generates the PDF quickly from those images. Now, you can do lots of things with this PDF, but the best thing is email to the client so they can review it. So, once the document opens, because we specified that it needed a password, it's going to prompt you and any other viewers for the open password. You can go ahead and send that in a separate email to the client or call them and give it to them. We'll type that in, and you'll see that the document actually opens. And it tells the person it's trying to go to full screen. Is this okay? If they click yes, the slideshow will actually go full screen, giving them control. And every 5 seconds, it's going to automatically advance to the next slide. This is a really easy way to build a simple slideshow without a lot of work. When they want to, they could just press the escape key to exit, and it gently fades out and exits to the current slide. Now, let's switch back to Bridge and show you a couple more things. Besides doing a slideshow, if you need to make a contact sheet, it's a piece of cake. Just scroll back up to the top where you have your presets, change Page Preset to the type of paper you use in your country. In this case, I'm going to use 8.5 by 11 because I'm in the US. Those of you over in Europe, feel free to switch to international paper sizes that match your country. You can then specify how many images you want on the page. So under Template, I'm going to say that I want to do a 4 by 5 contact sheet. Click Refresh Preview, and you'll see that we get 4 columns and 5 rows. I'll switch the page back to white, take a look at it with Refresh Preview, and it's looking pretty good. Notice it has captions for the individual files, and if you need to, you can actually adjust those down here where it says Overlay. You could bump the point size up, change the color, change the font, whatever you need to get the job done. When satisfied, scroll to the bottom, click Save, and pick a destination, and we'll call it Contact Sheet, and it generates it. Again, this is very fast and much more elegant than the old way that we used to do inside of Photoshop. Prompts you for the password. There we go. And you see we have a contact sheet, which you can then send and they could print out or view, and this makes it easy so you're all looking at the same images. If you don't want to use the 4 by 5 preset, you can easily manually change the number of rows and columns. So that's great. We've learned how to make PDFs, both slideshows and contact sheets. But what about a replacement for the web photo gallery option? Don't worry, the output module covers that as well. Let's see how. I'll switch back to Bridge, and let's use some different photos here. We'll go up a layer here, so let's just switch back to our Essentials area, and we're going to navigate to a different folder. I'll click on the web gallery, and I'm just going to take these images here. I'll switch back to the output module, and I'm going to go ahead and click the Web Gallery button. Now, there's lots of galleries to choose from, and there's going to be more that you'll be able to download in the future from Adobe's website. Plus, if you're a developer or know a lot about this, you can actually create your own templates using Creative Suite. We're going to go ahead here and choose an option, and I'm going to take advantage of the Lightroom Flash Gallery, which is one of the most elegant ones that's come out of Photoshop Lightroom. We've got a couple of styles here. I'm going to go with the nightlife style, and then it just asks us to plug in our site info. What information you put in is up to you, but this will actually customize what the web browser is going to show, makes it more useful to the end client. I'll plug in a little bit of information here. We'll call this South Beach at Night, and the collection title is Miami at Night, September 2007. I could add a little bit of description if I want. Plug in any contact information that's needed. Plug in an email address. No offense, I'm not going to give you mine, but if you do want to get in touch, be sure to visit our website at cs4.com. That's csfour.com. You're welcome to post comments, ask questions, and get in touch that way, but my email box is already completely inundated with messages. Put in any copyright info that you need. And of course, you could actually change the color palette as you see fit if you'd like. So for example, we could change the color here for a border. We could do the same for a header. And really take advantage of those controls. And when you're set, click Preview in Browser so you can see what it's going to look like. Now, this won't do all the images, but it's much faster than doing an entire folder. It's going to take the first few images and show you what the website will look like. It's a good idea to preview in the browser before you run it for the entire site. You see there we've got the nice border that we specified for red for the edges. We've got the South Beach at night up top. Let's just adjust this so you can see the whole window. We've got controls down here. We can click play, and it'll actually do a nice animated slideshow dissolving between the photos periodically. The user can go over and navigate and jump just to the pictures that they want. And it's an entire website built with Flash. That's really, really cool. Let's go ahead and close that for a second and switch back to Bridge. I'll refresh the preview right up here in the window so it looks the same. And make one more change. For the controls background, I'm just going to lighten that up a little bit. And when I click refresh, you'll see it shows it here, up here in the preview area. There we go. Scroll down to the bottom, and you have a cool option here. You could choose to save this to disk, and that's fine. If you save it to a folder, piece of cake. You could zip that, drop it up on your server manually, zip it, attach it to an email, send it to the client, and just tell them to open up the file called index inside the main folder, and they could browse it locally. But what's also nice is you can actually upload this right to a server. Now, the upload command works great. Just simply put a folder up on your server, name it with the name of your file, and that way I would just load this up to my review site, call it something like South Beach, and give that address to the actual end customer, and they could browse it. I'm going to just go right to disk here. We'll say Browse, target our desktop, and make a particular folder. That's good. We've targeted the desktop. Click Choose. We'll go ahead and give it a name here, and we'll call this Sobe. Click Save, and it actually writes it to the disk. If we switch out to the Finder, you'll see it right there on the desktop. There's the index file, and that can be easily sent off to the client or posted to the web for review. A quick double click, and the web browser launches, and they can actually see it. So, that's it for this episode. I hope you learned some of the new things that you could do with Photoshop CS4. It's a very cool release with lots of great new features that really make it easier to get the job done. Go ahead and visit cs4.com. We could find out additional information, enter our contest, and find all of the episodes in one place. And if you enjoy our training, be sure to check out our regular series. We offer 2 free weekly podcasts all about Photoshop. The first is called Understanding Adobe Photoshop. It's designed for people who work in digital photography, graphic design, or just generalists who want to get more out of what Photoshop offers. For those of you who work in video and motion graphics, we offer another show called Photoshop for Video. And this show is all about using Photoshop to create content for professional video production. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Rich Harrington.